How is your love life?
Shit.
Yeah. Why?
Okay, so the thing is for me, I'm 21, but like I said, I have the mentality of a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
So for me, like I'm much more mentally and emotionally mature than a lot of people my age. I'm not physically attracted to older guys, which sucks. Like I would date like the absolute youngest, like 18, 19 that looks a little bit older, or like 24 that like has a young personality.
Okay.
Hello, 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 sweet baby angels and pumpkin heads. It is your girl, Miss Tetra Resinstone. And today's video, you guys, we are talking about James Charles. Now we're talking about Logan Paul's podcast that had James Charles on it for his 200th episode. Now you guys, already out the gate, we're hitting it, we're rocking, we're rolling. Now, James Charles establishes that he has the maturity of a 40-year-old man, but he's not attracted to older men. Now, this is interesting to me because typically, in my thoughts, my opinions, when you have a higher maturity level, you're typically not attracted to immature people. And he says they've got a young personality. What is a young personality? I understand being fun and flirty and having a good time, but you also want someone that's going to be able to be compatible with you. Because listen, I think I have a young personality. I think I'm very zestful and full of life and very, energetic, and that could be equated to young. But what do you mean by when you say a young personality? Is a young personality immaturity? The reason why I say that is because James Charles goes on to say that he dates people that are as young as possible, as young as legally possible. Now, he doesn't say legally, but he says 18 or 19, who looks maybe a little bit older, and 24, who has a young personality.
Not physically attracted to older guys, which sucks. Like I would date like the absolute youngest, like 18, 19 that looks a little bit older, or like 24 that like has a young personality.
Now, the next thing that James talks about is how he is beyond the hookup stage in his life, that he is past the hookup stage. He is ready to find a partner. He's ready to settle down, and he wants someone that will love him for who he is. And here's the thing about that. When you are looking at someone in your age group, they're not going to be at that stage at life. You have so much going for you. And unfortunately, although it's very great and congratulations, but unfortunately, a lot of people at that age group, 18, 19, they're just starting their life. They have nothing to offer the world yet. I mean, they're just starting. A lot of them are just getting out of high school, or they are seniors in high school, which you would be open to dating someone who is a senior in high school.
Me, like I'm already past the hookup stage. I still indulge in a hookup every once in a while, but like I really want to find like the right person. I want a partner. Like I just bought a beautiful new house. Like I want to wake up with somebody. Like I have an amazing job. Like I want to bring somebody on, trips when I go. I want to bring somebody to meetings and stuff. Like I want to, but like it's really hard to find that person. And especially because I'm so young too, like a lot of people just aren't ready for that type of commitment yet.
I'm not trying to put some weird like voodoo on you, but I imagine it's probably going to be really hard for you to find a person that you don't dwarf mentally even.
Well, I think that's going to happen no matter what.
So are you okay with that?
For sure.
Okay.
Now, this is very interesting to me. This whole little interaction, I let it play a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I want you guys to just kind of like take all this in together. Let's take it all in together. So the fact that James Charles, is in a very different stage in his life. He's in a stage in life that many people strive to be at. So he's probably 20 years ahead in terms of the success and things that he's accomplished, but mentally he probably is still back with these kids, because as a grown adult, I have no attraction to people who have nothing to offer. And I'm not saying that you young ones don't have anything to offer, but you don't have anything to offer me, is what I'm saying. And as far as mentally, I want to be able to have a in-depth conversation. I want to be able to have a conversation and talk about our shared life experiences and talk about stuff that you've been through, stuff that I've been through. And I really want to be able to connect with you on a deeper level. The type of partner that James is describing is a person that would be able to connect with him on a deeper level. However, a person of 18 to 21, you have not had enough, most of you have not had enough life experience to really be able to have the depth to have those types of meaningful relationships. Now, I'm not saying you can't get into a relationship and you can't, go through your emotions and you can't be in a relationship at a younger age. Absolutely you can. But as far as a true, meaningful depth of a relationship, you can only go as far deep as you've worked on yourself. And typically people in that age group are very surface, right? They're thinking about their high school graduation. They're thinking about getting, their first apartments. They're registering for college, all the frat parties, and joining this sorority and joining that. They're thinking about all these other things that once you outgrow that, none of that matters and it's not important anymore. And I think that that's something that James is kind of missing. James is not, connecting the dots for that. That these kids are gonna have a very different mentality as far as what they want and what's important to them. And because you, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, it's a great thing and congratulations, but I have to say unfortunately because you want people to be at your level already, and unfortunately they won't be, they can't be. So the type of partner that I think James Charles should go for is a partner who is a model, an actor, a backup dancer, somebody in the entertainment world who's used to traveling, who's used to doing all these different things, and somebody who's been more experienced. You need someone that's a world traveler, or get you a rich motherfucker who's been spoiled growing up and is able to travel the world and see everything. You being with a normal person from like Biloxi or a normal person from Alberta, it's not really gonna be, their dynamics are so different. You come from different worlds. And he also talks about how he goes on trips. He wants to go on trips. And I wanted to talk about this as well. The thing about the trip thing, in my mind, and I know James later on in the video says that he's not a sugar daddy and he doesn't want to be a sugar daddy, but he doesn't mind footing the bill for the relationship so long as the person gives them the love and attention that they want. But I gotta tell you, as a former sugar baby, as a person who's had a sugar baby lifestyle, I have traveled the United States. I have gotten to do amazing, fun, wonderful things. I've traveled all over, and it's been such an amazing experience, the things that I got to do when I was doing that. But I gotta tell you, what sucked about it is I experienced these things for the very first time. My first time to Miami was mind-blowing. It was so much fun. I had a fantastic time. It was VIP this and VIP that and Range Rovers here, but it was a lot of fun. I got to do so much things. I got to, stay in penthouse. Like, it was so much fun, and I got to experience a life of luxury and have an experience that for me was brand new and it was special. But for the man that I was with, he had done it all before. This was all old news. And so I was gobsmacked, and I was having the time of my life, and I was enjoying these moments, and these moments were almost diminished because I had no one to celebrate the moment with. This was his life. He was used to this, and I think that that's something that I think as a kid you may enjoy it, because I was young, and as a young person I enjoyed it. But as I got older, I look back on it, I regret certain experiences that I've had with the person that didn't celebrate them the same way. I regret seeing certain things and having the best time of my life, and to look over with the person that I'm with and they're like asleep because they're not having it. And I'm not saying that James would do that. I'm not saying that James wouldn't be able to celebrate and have a good time, but it's like when you've already done all of these things and you've already, the newness is worn off for you. As far as the wow, the luster, the oh my God, I can't believe I'm here, I can't believe this is happening. I think that for a person that's very, very young, and you do get to experience that, and you experience it with somebody that's already experienced it, it takes the joy out of it, or it takes a little, at least for me in my experience. Now, I'm not saying James would do that, but I think that that's kind of something that's happened. Now, the next thing that James talks about, and it's said, is that he is okay with being at a different level than his partner. He is okay with being smarter than his partner, or he's okay with being more mature than his partner. Now, for me, I have a couple of ways that I look at this. On one hand, I think James is probably really not as mature as he thinks he is, and he just has more life experience that gives him a different perspective on things, but I think he may still connect with that kid-like persona. And then the other hand is that he definitely wants to manipulate, or he wants to control, or he wants to have an upper hand in the partnership. And there's everything in between too. I'm not saying that it can't be this or it has to be that. It can be something in between. But I find it interesting because personally, as I've gotten older and as I've become an old maid, if you will, I would never want to date somebody that is not on my maturity level. I would never want to date somebody that is not on my mental level. It really would not make sense for me to do that. You know, if anything, I would rather go up in maturity to kind of help me grow, and you know, but what are you going to gain from that? If someone's not pushing you, at least in a maturity way, or and be able to give you stimulating conversations or give you, you know, stimulating views of points or things like that, if they're not able to stimulate you mentally, you're gonna get bored of it. Regardless if you say you're not, you will. And the fact that you don't want that stimulation from your partner, it's almost like it's a very young thing to say. You're 21, you're a boy. I get it. It's all about that. And it's very that, because at what point, you know, that all wears off. And to me, even though you say you're over the hookups, I gotta say it's kind of like, I really believe that James would probably get bored with the relationship very, very quickly, only because the fact that you are okay with someone being less of a maturity level, that to me is not gonna work. It never will work. It doesn't work. And in fact, you know, unless they're codependent and you're like, that could work if you have an unhealthy type of relationship. But if you want a full, whole, healthy partner and they're on this level over here and you're on this level over here, or you're on this level down here and y'all are on different levels, it's hard to come to meet in the middle. It's hard to make that work because you got to be able to connect on different levels. And unfortunately, when you have someone that's on a maturity level that is very, 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 very young, or that is, you know, if you're saying you're in the fucking 40s mentally and you're dating 19-year-olds, I mean, listen, I have no interest in dating someone with a maturity level, you know, really, really young. And I've met people in their 40s that have maturity levels in their teens. I'm not gonna date you then. I'm not gonna date people that are young-minded in the sense that are like, there's nothing wrong with having a sense of wonder and you know, having that innocence and having, you know, a piece of having fun. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you can't have a stimulating conversation, if you can't, you know, invoke some sort of emotion besides a sexual emotion, then I really don't have anything to talk to you about. I really don't have anything, like there's never gonna be a relationship there. That's just how I am. And I think as you get older, James probably will get there as well. But I think to me, that was probably the weirdest thing. Even though I did think it was weird that he talked about the high school moment, like dating a senior in high school. I did think that was weird. I thought that the power dynamic situation was which I'm about to roll that clip for you as well. You're about to see, you haven't seen it yet, but you're about to see that the whole power dynamic situation that I think is weird. But I'm still kind of hung up on that. I'm really hung up on the idea of not wanting a partner on your same mental level. What do you think? Put it down in the comments. Are you with me? Are you with him? Where are you at? Let me know. Let me know. But I want you to look at the next clip of this video. Take a look.
I think for me, relationships are all about balance, and I think the balance comes in different forms.
Yeah.
Like I think like there's been a lot of times too where like a lot of guys will be like, oh, I want to take you out to dinner, but like I can't afford it. And I'm like, okay, totally understand that, but like I can.
Yeah.
So like for me, as long as you're willing to put in like the time and effort and like love into it, like I can gladly provide the money for the relationship.
Yeah.
Like not that I want to be a sugar daddy in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. Please do not message me. But like I believe in like everybody has to, you know, bring their own things to the table with a relationship. And for me, like I'm able to make time, but like I'm a very, very busy person.
I totally get what you're saying.
The qualities that
I'm
I
in
would
the
bring
same
to the
boat, yeah.
table are very different than the qualities that other people would bring to the table. But like I'm a firm believer in like all those qualities added together.
Puzzle
It's like,
pieces.
it's like puzzle
You
pieces.
look at it, you look at it,
And for me, it's like, if you can't afford to take me to dinner, like I don't care. Like I would rather pay for it because I actually care about you and we get to spend quality time together rather than not going to a dinner just because you can't.
like they can't
afford
like
I've seen James talk about the dynamic difference between having money and not having money, being successful, not being successful, or, you know, using money as a measure of success, I suppose. And one of the things that's interesting about this particular aspect that James, I don't think he really realizes, is that there is a power dynamic. And we're really about to get into the next part of this video, which is about the power dynamics. And I think there's a huge dynamic difference when somebody is successful in terms of financial success to someone who doesn't have that yet. I think that comes a point of power. Now, for instance, in my video that I talk about, I'm glad he cheated video, there was things that we differed on, and a lot of it came down to money. He would be mad that I wasn't able to buy the coffee creamer or go to the grocery store or do these little silly things that it wasn't because I didn't want to, it was because I was busy working, and I was very busy. My time was, you know, valuable as well. And because my time was being spent making the coin, I would take that and sometimes use my money as a way to just dismiss a problem. And the problem never was that he wanted the money. The problem was that he wanted me to contribute. Even though I was contributing financially, he wanted me to actively do something. And so I think James is kind of good. James is sort of talking about that kind of here. And I don't think he realizes the potential problem in a relationship that comes from when somebody has the money to financially support an entire relationship. There does come a bit of resentment out of that. My partner was resentful that I was able to just throw money at a situation and say, well, how much is this going to cost? And I don't think James is really, he's never really had a real relationship to understand that. And as a person who's been in a relationship that unfortunately, unbeknownst to me, I was emasculating my partner because I would have money and I would just throw the money at him and say, okay, well, how much does it cost for the coffee creamer? How much does it cost for our groceries? How much does it cost for this? How much does it cost for that? And it never really was about the money. It was about the act of me not contributing to the household. Even though I was, like, my time was spent making the money, his time was spent shopping for groceries. And there's a bit of a emasculation that comes with that. James goes on to talk about some other interesting things, really about to get into the heart of the dynamic difference when you date someone that does not have their life together or that is not on the same page as you are. Take a look.
Talk to a lot of different guys that that live in different states as well. This is a better example than just a dinner. Like, I've talked to guys that live in different states and stuff, and I'm like, hey, like, why don't you come visit? And like, well, I can't afford a plane ticket. Yep. And it's like, okay, well, I can. So like, get on the plane. And like, well, I just don't really feel comfortable with that. But like, I love you and I really want to be together. And I'm like, well, we can't be together because you can't afford a plane ticket. You're probably still in either high school or college, like a senior in high school or in college.
Right.
So like, either you accept the flight and realize that like this is what I'm bringing to the relationship so we can spend time together if you actually care about me.
Yep.
Or we literally never meet because you can't afford it.
That's frustrating. Right. That's right. So it's a leap for them. It has to be. I've met a lot of people who are afraid to take that leap.
It's a very fair fear as well.
Yeah.
I think 1,000,000%, like, I would never want to invalidate that. Like I mean, it is obviously very, very scary, but at the same time, it's like, if you care about somebody, everybody has to make sacrifices. And those sacrifices, just like the things that just like the puzzle pieces, the sacrifices come in different forms too. So it's like, if I'm sacrificing my time, which makes me a lot of money when I'm focusing my time on, you know, my business, if I'm sacrificing my time to spend time with somebody that I care about, like, I need you to sacrifice the ego of getting on a flight that somebody else paid for.
The problem with the last part of this video that I'm going to include, now this is a 12-minute clip. I'm only going to use 6 minutes of this clip. Please check the description down below. I will include the full clip for you guys to look at in its entirety. I encourage you to do that so you can get the full scope of what I'm actually talking about. As always, definitely check the description down below. But the thing about this part of the video that really kind of makes me cringe a bit is the fact that James talks about, you know, get over your ego. I'm paying for this trip. I'm paying for this. And what he doesn't realize is he's creating a power dynamic. And Logan really does a good job at actually saying, hey, it is a big leap. It is a leap for someone to jump on a plane and travel across the country to visit you. And you know nobody in the city. You know nobody in that town, but you know me. That's scary, and it is scary, and these people are very, very young. We're not talking about a 25-year-old. We're not talking about a grown person. We're talking about people that are possibly 18, 19. I mean, James just said you're probably still in high school, a senior in high school. So you're talking about really, really young people, and a lot of these people it's probably their first flight ever by themselves. It's probably the first time that they've ever left home. It would probably be the first time that they've ever met a celebrity. And it's probably, there's so many firsts for this particular person that Logan, I think, does touch on, that it's like, well, you got to give them, it's a big leap. And for James to use a very, in my opinion, it was a very manipulative language. And if he's going to have that point of view and that mindset and that manipulation with people that he's not trying to fuck, imagine how he would be with people that he is trying to fuck. If you have this money, James, and you have all of this money and you can financially support the relationship, why don't you take a couple of days off, because you're going to spend some time with this person anyways. Why don't you make the flight? Why don't you go fly to that town? Why don't you go fly to that city? And why don't you meet this person and you let them at least, because there's this home field advantage I think that you're kind of missing. Like, not only are you a mega celebrity celebrity. Not only do you have tons of money, not only are you massively successful, but you also are going to have them be, you're going to be at your own home field advantage. There's so many things that are stacked up against the person that may not want to do that or may be afraid to do that. And then to manipulate and say, well, listen, you have a big ego because I'm paying for this trip. Therefore, you should just take this opportunity. This is the gift that I want to give you. You need to take this gift. It's very egotistical. It's very entitled. It's very aggressive, in my opinion. I think that you have the money and you have the means that you could possibly go and visit these people. If you really wanted to date someone that is going to be in that age group, if you really wanted to date somebody that is young and doesn't have the money, why don't you go visit them first? At least meet them for the very first time, because it's the first time that they're meeting, according to you. You're never going to meet them unless they come to LA. At least put them at ease. And again, personally, I don't even think you should be dating regular people who have no life experience that are similar to yours. That's my thoughts, that's my opinions. I think you should be dating someone who has traveled the world, who has been more, they will be more inclined to hop on a plane and fly to LA, or they would be more inclined to give you what you want. But instead, you have this expectation that because you have the money, the power, that they should just be grateful for it. And I had a kind of a yikes moment when I watched that part of the clip. It was very uncomfortable for me to watch because it really made me remember when I felt obligated to do something. When I was a sugar baby, I felt even more obligated to go through with the sugar baby activity if I had to travel. You're spending for my travel, you're spending for my food, and you're spending for my time, and you're spending my daily rate. So I felt that there was even more of an expectation to make sure that you have a really good time. But if I met you in Dallas and we were just gonna have a little dinner get together, I live in Dallas, so I would not mind meeting you and telling you, I'm sorry, this isn't gonna work out. I would feel more comfortable and more confident at excusing myself from a situation if I was in my home turf. And I think that that's an aspect of manipulation and power dynamic that you're not even acknowledging. I don't know, guys. This is my thoughts. These are my opinions. Watch the entire clip down below. I will link it in the description. Please give me your thoughts and opinions. I don't want you guys to send hate to anybody mentioned in this video. These are just my thoughts and opinions on a very interesting interview that I watched that had James Charles on it. And I really do hope, James, you find love. I hope that you find a partner. And I would strongly suggest that you look for people that are world travelers, whether they're celebrities or not, or whether they're in entertainment or not. Go for someone that's been already a traveled person, that's already experienced these things, because I think that that would be a lot easier for you. Like, you shouldn't have to beat down someone to come meet you. You shouldn't have to beat down someone and manipulate someone to spend time with you. You should, get with someone who is open and ready and willing to go. And chances are, if you're a world traveler, you're more comfortable with getting on a plane by yourself and visiting a celebrity, and you may be and you may not. I don't know. What the hell do I know? Go ahead and leave a like for this video. Hit that subscribe button. Pick up these lashes, you guys. These are my girlfriend's Bad Dahlia lashes. Pick them up. Link in the description as below as well. I will see you in my next video. Until next time, bye-bye.